Welcome back to an episode of Let's Build Twitter. We're in episode 121. As always, if you guys do want access to the private repository, I got a link to a video down below that'll walk you through exactly how to do that. As well as if you do want to hang out while I work on these episodes live, I am trying to live stream every Tuesday and Thursday around 4 o'clock Central Time. So let's go ahead and hop into what we work on today. In this episode, we wrap up the logic for the GIF display component by setting up an observer on a hidden div and setting up the function in async thunk to fetch the next set of GIFs. Then we wrap up by setting up the ability for the user to type in the top bar and search for GIFs by the term once they've stopped typing. And we also set up the input in the CSS to stop the GIFs from auto-playing on the display component. As always, I'm using Uncutter, and let's hop straight into development. Now I want to make it so that whenever we scroll to the bottom of our GIFs, we go ahead and load even more in so that code continuously scrolls here. So back into our code, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go into our display where we have our hidden div and all of that stuff. And we're going to go ahead and set up a function, or actually, yeah, we're going to set up a function, and then we'll go through and see if it works and then kind of move on from there. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say const load next gifs, and this is going to equal to and we're gonna have to pass in something called entries. We're gonna say any just to kind of help ourselves out against TypeScript here, and we're gonna say entries dot for each, and then for each entry we're gonna say entry type any again, and this will make more sense in a little bit. And we're gonna say if entry dot is intersecting, right? And if this is the case, we're going to say console.log, and we're going to go ahead and say get the next set of GIFs. And then also I had state.next here just to kind of see what the next key was. Otherwise, we're going to say console.log not visible. I'm going to go ahead and walk you guys through kind of what this is doing in a second. And then we're also going to go ahead and say use effect. We're going to set up a use effect here. And this is just going to be called once whenever the component mounts. What we want to go ahead and do is we want to go ahead and set up something called an observer on our hidden div. So we're going to say if our hidden div and our hidden div dot current, so our hidden div is all set up for us. We're gonna go ahead and say const observer is equal to a new intersection observer, and this is gonna call load next gifs whenever we are setting this up. And we're gonna set up some properties here. So root will be null. I don't fully know what this does, but threshold is gonna be 1, so it needs to be fully intersecting to be observed. Basically, our const target is going to equal to hidden div dot current, and then basically we're going to say observer dot observe, and we're going to observe the target. So what this is going to do is we're going to set up this thing called an observer that's going to watch our hidden div, and if the hidden div is intersecting our view area, then we're going to go ahead and call this get next gifs with that next key. If it's not, it's going to say not visible. So let's go ahead and hop back into our application to see what this looks like. So if I go ahead and close out this, let's go ahead and open up the console, and we can go ahead and make this a little bit smaller here, go into the console. So if we open this up, you can see that's not visible, which is good. We open this up, it says not visible. If we scroll down to the bottom, you can see it says get next set of gifs, yada, yada, yada. So basically what this is going to do, and it shouldn't matter that it gets called twice, it shouldn't break anything. We have enough calls, we have like 1 million calls per second or something, so it's not going to hurt anything. And you can see it's not visible. We go down here, then it says it's visible. So basically whenever we get to the bottom, we can see this div, it's going to say, hey, let's go ahead and grab the next set of GIFs. So now to actually do that, we need to go back into our slice and set up another async thunk to make the call, and then we can go ahead and append all of these. And I don't remember, I think there might be some key issues or something in this that I just ignore. I don't remember. We'll see. Back into our GIF slice, we need to set up another async thunk basically. So to do this, we're going to first set up a new interface, and I don't know why I need, well, I might need it. So we're going to go ahead and say export const, and we're going to say next gif payload. I don't know if I actually need to export this or not, but we'll see. So term, let me actually say export interface instead of export const, export interface. Okay, And this is going to be term string, and this is going to be next string. All right, so now let's go ahead and go down to where we set up our async thunk. So we'll say export const fetch next gifs. This will be equal to create async thunk, and we'll go ahead and say this will be gif slash next, and then we'll say async and payload is a next gif payload, and we'll have our we'll have our thunk API. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and try, and we're gonna set some stuff up again. So let's say let client key equal to, and we'll just call this footer. Again, this can be basically anything. And then we're gonna say let search URL equal to backticks HTTP. And actually, I'm gonna copy this because it's gonna be basically the same, except at the end of the limit, we're gonna have and position is equal to, and $ curly brace. This is going to be payload.next. So position is basically the key for the next position. And we're going to say let res equal to await axios.get. I'm going to paste in our search URL. And then we're going to say return res.data. My consistency isn't great here, I know. You'll see why I say that in a second. Let's go return thunk API.reject with value, pass in e. So I did all of the work. Actually, no, this is the same. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, my consistency is the same. Anyway, I want to go ahead and do the builder. So go ahead and say builder.add case for our fetch next gifs. So builder, whoops, it's on the new line, doesn't really matter. Static thing. Add case, and this will be for fetch next gifs dot fulfilled, and this will take in our state and our action, and here we'll go ahead and say let results equal to action.payload.results. So it's similar to above but slightly different, because we're not passing in something, we're not passing the results, or the term, we already have the term. So let gif URLs be a string array equal to an empty string. So I'm going to retype this out. Results dot for each. So for each item of type any, we're going to go ahead and say gif URLs dot push. We're going to push item dot media dot form or underscore formats dot gif dot URL. We're going to push those URLs. State will equal to dot state, and we're going to go ahead and say gifs are equal to, and we're going to kind of go ahead and break this array apart. So we're going to go ahead and say dot state dot gifs. So the gifs that already exist inside of a state are going to go at the beginning of the array, and we're going to say dot gif URLs, and we're going to append the other array to the end of the current array, basically. So we're just going to smush everything together. Next will be action.payload.next. So again, this will kind of be the next key again, and loading will be false. So then we can just continually go over and over again. We'll just go ahead and return state. So before, whenever I was working on this on stream, this is the issue I was having. I couldn't get next to load for whatever reason. So this is why I set up that GIF slice and everything, just to get it all working. So now whenever we go into our load next slice, so create modal display. So now instead of console.logging here, basically what we want to do is if it's intersecting completely, you want to dispatch, and we don't have a dispatch set up. So let's go ahead and set up a dispatch. So const dispatch is an app dispatch equal to use dispatch, and what we want to go ahead and do is we want to dispatch. We're going to go ahead and dispatch our fetch next gifs, and we need to set up our data. So our term will be state.search term. This should already be set up, and then our next will be state.next. Again, it should be set up, and save. technically we don't need the else here. So if we wanted to clean up that print statement to make it a little bit prettier, we can do that. So now if we go ahead and go back into here, hopefully, fingers crossed, we still have a bunch of stuff we need to clean out, but whatever. We come in here and we click on yes. Now I think that there's a key issue here where it complains. Let's see. Yep. Although cannot read properties undefined gif slice URL. Okay, so I goofed something here. So gif slice, let's see here. This should be gif.url. Let's go ahead and refresh. Try this again. So gif, happy birthday. We get to the bottom. Yeah, so it has a bunch of key. It says there's 2 children with the same key. I don't know if I need to like refresh something or do something with this, but we're just gonna kind of sweep that under the rug and pretend like that error doesn't exist. But we can scroll once we get to the bottom, you can see that it scrolls back to the top. We get new ones, and we can just kind of scroll for a while. So cool, looks good. And again, I could debug that, or I could say whatever, I'm not going to deal with it. That's what we're going to do. So now the next thing that I want to work on, because we have plenty of time to continue working here, it's only been 11 minutes. The next thing is that whenever you type, so like if we say like happy birthday, for example, Twitter basically waits for like a second or two and then it searches. So what we want to go ahead and do is we want to implement that. So we're going to go into our top bar, I believe. So let's go back into our code and we're going to go into our top bar component. So let's go into let's see here. Where is our top bar? Modal top, and go into our modal top.tsx. So basically, I think it goes, I'm not sure where it goes actually. But we are going to set up some state and do a couple things. So we're going to get it set up. So const. We're going to say const, and this is going to say timer and set timer. This is going to equal to use state, and I never did the research to figure out what the type is, so whatever. So we're going to set that up, and I don't know where this goes. I guess we'll just put this here. We'll say const handle key up is equal to an arrow function, and in here we're going to say clear timeout, and this is going to be timer. We're going to say let t equal to, and we're going to say set timeout, and it's going to be search for gifs, and we need to set this up, search for gifs, and we're going to say 1000 milliseconds, and we're going to say set timer to t. So we're going to basically clear the timeout, create a new timeout, and that's going to be each time someone types in. So it's going to basically unclick the key. And now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to say const search for gifs, and it's going to equal to this and this and this. And now we're going to say if our input ref and our input ref.current and our input ref.current value is not equal to an empty string, excuse me. Then we're going to dispatch. We're going to dispatch fetch gifs by term, and we're going to fetch gifs by input ref.current value. So from my experience, this isn't 100% perfect. It does work fairly well. So now on our input, we're going to add another piece to this mess. So on key up equal to, and this is going to be equal to handle key up. So basically anytime we lift up on the keyboard, it's going to wait for a second before we search. And this works somewhat well. It's not 100% perfect, but we can go ahead and type. So we'll be like, hello, wait a second. And as you can see, it loads in. So hello, Moto. Cool, we can clear it. It'll go back to those. Cool, so that is working as expected. Now, the next thing that we want to probably do is we want to set up the autoplay. And I think that we got time for that. It's only been about 14 minutes, so this might be a little bit longer episode, but we should be okay. So now we're going to go back into our components here, and we're going to go into our display. And this is where we have the autoplay toggle and everything. So we're going to go ahead and set up a piece of state here. I'll put it above the use ref. That's kind of where I like to put things. So const, we're going to say autoplay and set autoplay equal to use state, and this is going to say boolean, And currently it's going to be set to true because we want to autoplay by default. And again, the autoplay is not perfect compared to Twitter's, but it gets the job done. Under here, we're going to say const toggle autoplay. And basically this is just going to toggle true and false. So we're just going to say set autoplay to not autoplay. Simple enough. So now instead of a div here, we're actually going to have a label. And this label is going to have a class name equal to feed dash post dash creator dash gif dash modal dash display dash gif modal. And this is going to be switch. And then inside the switch, we're going to have an input. Like a type input type is going to be equal to checkbox. Our on click is going to equal, if I could type, that'd be really cool. On click is going to equal to toggle auto play. And then we're going to have checked is equal to autoplay. And then we're going to have a span with a class name equal to feed dash post creator dash gif dash modal slider. And then this is not gonna have anything in there. Now this is something that I borrowed or stole from, I don't remember what it was called, but I borrowed this code. So I think it was from W3 schools or something, because I had no idea how to do this. So feed dash post dash creator, if I could type creator dash gif, and this should be dash modal dash switch. So for a modal switch, position will be relative. We're going to have display of inline block. We're going to have width of 32px. This is approximate about what Twitter is. And height will be 14px. Again, I couldn't get this perfect just because Twitter and stuff like that. So now we're going to have switch input. And this is going to be opacity of 0. We're going to have width of 0. We're going to have height of 0. We're going to basically more or less disable that switch. We're going to say dot feed post creator creator dash gif dash modal, and this is going to be dash slider. So the slider is going to be position of absolute. We're going to have cursor pointer, and then we're going to have top 0, left 0, right 0, and bottom 0. Again, I borrowed the CSS. Background color is going to be RGBA. And this is going to be 0, 0, 0.5, kind of like a gray color. Dash WebKit dash transition. Transition. And this is going to be 0.4 seconds. And then we're going to have a transition of 0.4 seconds. And then we're going to have a border radius of 20px. All right, I don't think I need 20px. I think it should be like 17px, but it is what it is. And then we're going to copy this slider again, and we're going to say colon before. And then do we need 2 colons? No, just 1 colon. So position, once again, will be absolute. Our content will be nothing. And then we're going to have height 20px, width 20px, and then we're going to have left colon -8px. We're going to have bottom -3px. Now these are things that I just kind of played around with and tweaked until I finally got something that I somewhat liked. Background color white, and then dash WebKit transition again. So WebKit dash transition 0.4s, and then we're going to have transition again 0.4s, and let me make some space here. Border radius will be 50%, And then finally, we have a box shadow on this, so it kind of stands out. RGBA. This is 0, 0, 0.2. And this is 0px, 4px, and 12px. This is something I just generated or found online. So now is when things get a little bit weird that I don't fully understand, but I'm going to trust the process. So import :checked. We're going to say plus dot feed dash post creator dash gif dash modal dash slider. And this is going to say background dash color RGBA. This is going to be 29, 161, 242, 0.6. This is something the Twitter blue kind of fade a little bit. Input :focus plus dot feed dash post creator. And this will be dash gif modal slider, gif modal slider. This is going to have a box dash shadow of 0, 0, 1px RGBA. This is going to be 0, 0, 0.2, similar to the last one but slightly different. And finally, input :checked plus dot feed dash post creator dash gif dash like a type modal slider :4. Last piece, so dash webkit dash transform. So this is going to be translate x. This is going to be 28x. This is going to slide it over for us, basically. We're going to have dash ms dash transform. Transform. Once again, we translate x 28px. This is for browser support, I'm sure. Because then we're going to have regular transform. And this is going to be translate x again. This is going to be 28px. And then finally, we're going to have a background color of #1 DA and then 1 F2. I'm pretty sure it's Twitter blue. There's a really high possibility that I most likely typoed something here. So let's just see. And yep, nothing works. Yep, it's not working and the whole thing is blue. So let me double check everything here. We can also go ahead and copy paste some stuff. So let's just double check this. So we have, this should be gif modal switch. Does that help? There we go. So we do this and looks pretty good, right? So now let's go ahead and wrap this up by displaying the actual frozen GIFs whenever we freeze them. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we need to go into the frozen GIF again. So let's go ahead and come in here, go into our frozen GIF component. And what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to set up width and height. So we're just going to say let width, let height. We're going to go ahead say if preview. If it's preview, width is going to equal to 290 and height will equal to 150. Otherwise, width is going to equal to 143 and height is going to equal to 135. And then that's fine. We'll set the canvas ref and height. Now, if this and this, that's fine. We'll go ahead and do all that. Otherwise, if our context does not equal to null and not preview, so if it's not preview, then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to say context dot draw image, and we're going to say image ref dot current. We're going to say 0, 0 with height. So instead of drawing all of the different text and everything, we're just going to go ahead and draw the image as frozen. We'll deal with the canvas clicked a little bit in the next episode. So now we just need to go back into our display. And here inside of this, we're going to go ahead and add some space here. And we're going to go ahead and say Autoplay question mark. If that's the case, we'll go ahead and continue displaying this. That's fine. We might even do one of these just to make it look a little bit prettier. Otherwise, we're going to say gifs.map. We'll map each gif. And we're going to go ahead and say feed, post, creator, and then frozen gif. Image will still equal to gif, and that should be fine. And text, we can still set the text as state.search term. It's just not going to display the text because it's not actually rendering the text whenever you create the canvas. So now if we come in here, if we freeze, you can see they're all frozen. Start playing them again. Now the only thing is Twitter kind of keeps track of exactly where the freeze frame is. R starts in the beginning. You see R is just kind of, is a little bit strange, but it works. It does what it's supposed to. So yeah, so now we have all of that. So now that's going to be it for this episode, I think. I think that's a good wrapping point. This was a little bit longer, but we got a bunch done. We'll go ahead and start up the next episode where we're going to go through and basically set it up to be able to actually take that GIF from that preview, put it onto the post, and then hopefully send it over in another episode. Unfortunately, that's going to be it for today. If you guys enjoyed, please stick around for the next episode by hitting that subscribe button. You'll know exactly when it comes out, especially with that bell icon. If you did enjoy the content today, please sure to leave a thumbs up. If you did enjoy it, leave a thumbs down. Either way, it helps out with the algorithm all the same. And finally, if you have any suggestions or feedback for me, make sure you leave a comment down below. With that being said, I appreciate you all for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. Peace out, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.